we're back. This is basic statistics. We're looking at review 1. This is page 3. So on the top of page 3, it says make a frequency polygon. So frequency polygon is just like the histogram, except for the x-axis, we're using the midpoints, and we're doing dot to dot instead of bars. All right, and so 24, 6 of them, 31, 9 of them, 6 and 9, and then 38, 5, and then 45, 7, and then 52, 3. And remember, first of all, remember to put the title in the labels. And then the other thing with this, a lot of people end up getting a point off because they do this. You don't really need the numbers there. You can have the numbers there if you want, but you have to connect it back to like 0 and then just off onto the x-axis there. So it's got to start and stop on the x-axis. Otherwise, it's not a true frequency polygon. All right, so that's polygon. Mean, median, mode, range, and standard deviation. So the mean, you add up all 30 of these numbers and divide by 30. And that gets you 36.77. I'll show you how to do that on a video on how to do it in Excel. All right. The median, you find the middle. And so here I have them all arranged. Sorry, I had to make them so small. So it's 30 pieces of data. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So that's 15 on the low end, 15 on the high end. I had to curl it up the board here. And so that is between 34 and 35, so 34.5. If it isn't that easy to do in your head, you add those two numbers, hit enter, and then divide by 2. All right? The mode is the one that occurs most often. And there is actually 2 modes on this one, because 32, 32, and 32. But then also 34, 34, and 34. So we have a tie for first place. There's a bunch of duplicates. There's 223s, there's 241s, there's 238s, but we want the one that occurs most frequently. So this is going to be 32 and 34. That's bimodal. There's actually 2 modes in that one. The range, that's easy. That's just the highest minus the lowest. So 52 minus 21, and that is 31. And then the standard deviation, that is really hard. You take the mean, this, you subtract it from each one of those values. So 30 different subtractions. You square the result of those. You add all those together. Because it's a population, you divide it by n, and then you take the square root of the whole thing. And so that's standard deviation. It says it's a population. On Excel, you do stand_dev.p. And then after you put in the data, and it's super easy to do it on Excel. So on the test, I'll let you do either one. And I'll tell you what to round to. So you got to make sure to round to the right number. All right. So this one I rounded to thousands. So 9.218. Okay. On number 15, then they say, give me the lower cutoff and give me the higher cutoff for an outlier. So to do this, we have to find we already found the median. The median happened right here, remember, 34.5. But now we'd want the median of the lower half. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 7 there and 7 there. There's 15 pieces of data total. That's an odd number. So that means Q1 is equal to 30. Q2 we found, that was the median. That's 34.5. And then Q3 this is 15 pieces of data again. It's the one in the exact middle, the middle of the upper half. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 46. All right, so now remember, how do we find the lower cutoff and the higher cutoff? We take and find the IQR. So the IQR here, the interquartile range, the IQR, is equal to 46 minus 30, that's 16, but we don't get to just use 16, we have to take that times 1.5. So the IQR times 1.5, so 1.5 times 16, that is 24, and that's what you take away from there, and that's what you add to there for the low cutoff and the high cutoff. So the low cutoff for an outlier would be 30, the lower quartile, minus 1.5 times the IQR, so minus 24. So 6. So anything below 6 would be considered an outlier in this set. And on the top end, the high cutoff, that would be the upper quartile, 46, plus the 24, the 1.5 times the IQR. And so that would have to be 70. And so there are no outliers. There's no mathematical outliers in this set because 21 is the lowest, 52 is the highest. All right. Then number 16, they want you to make a box plot. Let me erase number 13. I'll put that up here. So remember how a box plot works. You're using the 5-number summary. We have the minimum is 21. We found all of the quartiles, so Q1, Q2, and Q3. That is 30, and 46, and 34.5. And then the highest value is 52. And so again, make sure you don't have to label things on this because it's usually not for display, but you do have to make sure, make sure you put your numbers across the bottom before you plot. So look, we're going from 21 to 50. We'll go 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, all right? So you get this uniform thing down, and I'll explain why. I keep telling you about that and harping on it, but I'll explain why here on the review. So 21 is the lowest point, 52 is the highest point, and then these get lines. So there's a line on 30, there's a line on 34.5, and there's a line on 46. And so this isn't perfectly symmetric because the middle 50% isn't, this line isn't exactly in the middle. But it does look darn close to symmetric. So let me show you what a lot of students have done in my career. They don't put this across the bottom. They just jump right here and they always make box plots look perfectly symmetric. And then they just force the numbers in there. So then they just say, oh, okay, so this is 21. And this is 30, and this is 34.5, and this is 46, and this is 52. But that isn't correct. That's a perfectly symmetric thing. This is not perfectly symmetric. Those are pretty close, the whiskers, but that is clearly not dead center. But they make it like this, dead center. Do not do that. That's why it's important you write this down before you actually look at those numbers, all right? Okay, and then 17 and 18, last two on this page. What would be the percentile of 32.5 and what would be the Z-score for 32.5? So if we want the percentile and the Z-score, let's, I'm going to just erase the box plot here because we need this information. We need this information actually. So let's erase the box plot. It's on YouTube. You can go back and look at it again if you want to. So now we're doing number 17, the percentile. So of 32.5. So 32.5, in this set of data of 30, 32.5 would happen right here. So if I want a percentile of that value, remember how we find it. How many pieces of data did it beat? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And you always add 0.5 to that. 0.5 is a constant, so however many pieces of data it is ahead of in the set, plus 0.5, and then divided by how many pieces of data there were in the set. So we're going to use 30. And so if that were a thing, it would happen at the 38.33rd percentile. This is 0.383333, and then you multiply that by 100. And it becomes 38.33rd percentile. All right. And then 18. They want me to find the z-score. So that is making an assumption that it's a standard normal curve. So the z-score would be, you would take the value, 32.5. We would subtract off the mean that we calculated, 36.77, and we would divide it by the standard deviation that we calculated, 9.218. And we divide that, and we get negative 0.463. And again, that one says thousands, so that's what we round to. Again, when you're doing this on your calculator, before I stop this video, let me show you really quick. On the calculator, here's a calculator. If I'm going to type that in, that last calculation, we are going to do 30, first I have to turn on and clear it. 32.5 minus 36.77. All right, so you can kind of see the readout, and then hit enter. And then divide by 9.218. And then it gives you the negative 0.463224. All right, so you have to do the subtraction on the top first and then hit enter and then divide. Lots of students do this wrong. They do 32 minus 36.77 and they go divided by 9.28. And here, let me do it wrong and tell you what they get. If you don't hit enter first, you just type it in as you see it, it ends up being 28.51. That is not 28.51 standard deviations above the mean. It's not even above the mean, it's below the mean. So you got a negative standard deviation here. So parentheses, you can think of parentheses around that. If you want to type it in as it stands, you'd have to hit the parenthesis buttons, and then you could do it that way. All right, last video will be page 4.